Hey everybody, I wanted to talk a little bit about my hashing build, and this is just one of the few that I'm doing right now. Um, it's becoming really popular, and there's a lot of people talking about it in the Discord and people running different setups. But I wanted to show you one of my dedicated setups I'm going to be using, at least for a little while. I might end up selling this one, but yeah, we'll see about that in the future. Um, I'm using a Thermaltake Core P3 case, and it's pretty awesome. And there's a few reasons why I like this over other setups. If you're going to be running between 1 and 3 GPUs, I would say it's pretty good. Uh, it's good for up to 3. I wouldn't say it's the most ideal, and I'll talk about that in a second as to why. But yeah, if you're using between 1 and 3, you should be good. If you're using like 6, you're probably gonna want to do like a full open air, like a open air chassis, um, like a dedicated mining chassis where it has the motherboard on the bottom, and then you have your riser cards coming up and stuff like that. But the cool thing about the P3, it does go on sale quite a bit. I think I picked this one up for $60. And it has pretty much everything you need to get started. Spot to mount your PSU. It comes with one riser card, but I didn't opt to use that one. I'm going to use these risers here. And you can mount the graphics cards in a couple different ways. It supports ATX, micro ATX, mini ITX. You can put like 4 or 5 hard drives on it, a couple solid states. It's pretty sweet. So I'm using a micro ATX motherboard. You might recognize this one as the X8 SIL combo. Has 3 PCI Express X8 slots, but of course we're only using X1 risers, so it's not a big deal. Got an Intel X3470 quad core, which I cut down to a single core with hyper-threading, and it saved me about 30 watts at the wall. But I'm not losing any performance doing that. Running 8 gig of ECC and a 650 watt Seasonic gold rated power supply, non-modular. And just an old hard drive, it doesn't matter. That's not going to affect your hashing performance at all. So yeah, the cool thing about this case is that you have this tray which can be either removed and you can use the cards upright as they would normally go, or you can attach this and you can have up to 3 cards plus maybe 1 extra depending on how your riser situation is. The 1 extra would have to be a single slot, so if you need like an accessory card or something like that, you can use that. But I would say 3 is the most comfortable situation. But the problem is that it'll fit 3 dual slot cards, but there's no space in between them. So you're going to be kind of limited for airflow. You're going to have some sort of external fan setup, which is not too hard. You can take it really any, like pair of 120s, and once you have 3 cards, you can just kind of put them on top, and that should help quite a bit. And you might even be able to rig something where you can put a couple on the side, intaking like that. But that's really up to you. That's kind of whatever you want to do there. For a single or dual slot, dual card, you can just have one here, leave a gap of like 2 PCI Express worth of slots, and then have another one. And you should have enough room for airflow there. So yeah, between 1 and 3 cards, and it's only $99 normally. And you can get it on sale for like $60 or maybe sometimes like $80, whereas dedicated mining chassis are 150 on up, probably like 185 range is where they're pretty common. So yeah, it's got enough space to hide all the cables. Like, this is a non-modular power supply, so I have kind of all my cables stuffed in here, but it's a mining rig. It's gonna sit here and mine and hash, and I really don't care about the cables too much. I'm using these risers, and I'm using these for really just one reason. They're okay priced. I think they were a 6-pack for 50 bucks. I'm using these because they're right angle, whereas most risers would have the port coming out of the top like this. These are right angle. What that allows me to do is fit them. Let me see if I can see this on camera. You can fit them behind the video card in the bottom slot there. So you would have to use something like this in order to use this kind of setup. This was the only one that I found that were right angle like that. And in order to use the riser board, you do need to power it. I'm using the SATA power on the end, but you can also use Molex or you can use PCI Express. I mean, you're probably going to be short on PCI Express connectors anyway, and I don't really like Molex a whole lot, so that kind of leaves you with SATA. And it turns out pretty clean because the power goes underneath the card and you really can't even see it. I would say that if you were using these with the card installed, help if I unlocked it. With the card installed, you can see how these wires might get in the way of a card that's directly next to it. So, you know, having the SATA power go underneath is a lot better, in my opinion. These risers are pretty nice. I've only seen 2 other kinds of risers, and these definitely feel a little bit more premium. The capacitors are all solid, and nice white PCB, looks pretty clean. And then they have like a foam backing on the back just to prevent contact from anything metal, so you can really just set this on whatever. And if you need to use these standoff holes and you want to screw this down, you can just kind of go through the foam or you cut the foam off and stick your screw through there. So these risers are pretty nice. Again, I can fit 3 of these in these 3 PCI Express slots because they're right angle. Really the bottom slot's the only issue. So yeah, not a whole lot to say about this rig. I'm pulling about $1. Let's see, it's going between $1.40 and $1.51 per day. It's only a single HD 7950 3 gig. So not the most ideal card as far as power goes, but yeah, we'll just see how it goes. I did have my GTX 980 in here earlier. I was pulling about 500 watts out of the 650 watt, or 500 at the wall, so maybe 450 at the actual power supply itself. So I should have room for like another 1063 gig or something like that. But yeah, so if you want a cheap, simple mining setup, you don't have to spend a whole lot. I got this motherboard combo with the RAM, CPU, cooler, and all that for about 70 bucks. And then you can get any hard drive as long as it's like larger than 20 gig or 30 gig. And install your operating system of choice, get a set of riser cards, get a decent power supply, and then you can add between 1 and 3 video cards and you're good to go. So hopefully this was helpful to some of you. I actually haven't seen another mining setup using this case before, so not going to say that I'm the only one doing it, but hopefully this is helpful to someone that would look at this and say, that might make a decent mining case. And it will, but keep in mind you have to buy the right angle risers. So if you have any questions or anything, just shoot me a message in the comments, and I'll see you guys next time.